Hello, everyone. I'm Damián Cabrera, Program Manager for the Treatment Division at NMAC. And thank you all for joining us as we commemorate National HIV Testing Day. Today, I am super excited to be joined by Dash and Rik. And I am going to ask you folks to introduce yourself and talk a little bit more about the work that you do in the HIV field. Do you want to go first, Dash?
Hi, my name's Dash. I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana, but I live in Atlanta, Georgia. I made Atlanta, Georgia home over 7 years ago. And along with doing that, I moved to an area here in Atlanta that was suffering with high rates of infection with HIV. As you all know, that Atlanta just ranked third in the nation for HIV. So my organization is located in the west end of Atlanta. It's called Power Atlanta, one of the areas that's most impacted by HIV. So what we do is offer testing to a marginalized community by having weekly discussions and also hosting weekly food pantries and engaging the community. And then when we engage them, we also say, hey, when the last time you've been tested for HIV, or when the last time you've been tested for STDs? And shockingly, a lot of times they've never been tested and they want to get tested. They just don't know that the resources are available. A lot of people tend to think that this is a gay man's disease, and unfortunately, it's not. It's an everyone's disease.
Thank you for that introduction. And we are going to touch base on some of the things that you mentioned.
Oh,
Rik, can you introduce yourself?
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Rik Kutcher, and I use he, him pronouns. I currently work with Rainbow Health in Minnesota uh, uh, it, uh, in HIV and aging services. Uh, Rainbow Health 40 years ago began in Minnesota as Minnesota AIDS Project. So we were the first and the largest, we are now the largest agency in Minnesota that works with the HIV community, but also with our LGBTQ plus community in many aspects. Also, I'm a long-term survivor of HIV. At 23 years old in 1986, I'm now 61. I tested for HIV positive, and by the grace of God and modern medicine, I'm still here today. Yeah, that's all I got for now. Mhm.
Thank you for that intro. And also, Dash is part of the Gay Men of Color Fellowship, and Rik is part of the HIV 50 plus Strong and Healthy program. So
Absolutely.
thank you both for being here. And before we start, I wanted to mention that this Instagram Live is brought to you by CDC Let's Stop HIV Together campaign. NMAC is a partner of the CDC, supporting them into expanding the reach of the campaign. We are going to be putting the links on the chat so that people can learn more about Let's Stop HIV Together campaign, and also a link to get your free at-home HIV test. So thank you everyone again for joining us. And Dash, I wanted to start with you. Can you speak about a little bit about the importance, particularly for gay men of color, to get tested? And how would you encourage someone that may not necessarily think that that is something rather important, or might be even afraid to get tested?
Oh, that was a good answer. Well, it's very important for gay men of color to get tested because we're most affected. Although HIV affects everyone equally, but gay men of color are mostly affected and impacted, and a lot of times we go untested. If I was encountering someone that was apprehensive about getting tested, I would meet with them personally and see what some of that apprehension is. And we're a multifaceted unit when it comes to testing here in Atlanta. We have an agency, whether you're trans, whether you're trans masculine, whether you're Black, whether you're white, whether you're Latino, whether you're Asian, or even Island Pacific. So I would find a group that fits him and introduce him to that group and pretty much walk him through the process of doing it. Or also ask him if he's interested in a take-home test, like Take Me Home. There are lots of options. You don't necessarily have to go to a health department. A lot of people still think you have to go to your local doctor's office or a health department. But the fact remains, a lot of agencies are actually certified to do in-house testing, and you can get that rapid test on the spot.
Great. And also along those lines, Rik, can you speak a little bit about the importance for 50 plus folks getting tested? I know that sometimes this is not the population that is necessarily targeted with campaigns, but I think it's really important. If you can speak to that, that would be great.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, HIV can live in a body for up to 10 years before it turns into life-threatening conditions, AIDS-related conditions. So, we are seeing kind of an uptick of folks over an age of 50, 55, even up to 60 and higher, with higher incidence of being tested for HIV or AIDS. So, if your physician isn't asking you if you would like to be tested, I would urge you to at least look into the testing at home options, because the longer it goes untreated, it can get to a point where you can't reverse the damage that has been done. HIV might be able to be treated at that point, because I've known many older adults who have gone to the hospital for some other thing, and then they find out, oh, by the way, you also tested positive for HIV. And because of that, this particular condition was probably a result of that. So it's so important to, stay on top of that for yourself.
Yeah. And I think that it doesn't matter your age. If you are a person that is sexually active, you should get tested. And I think that's part of as we talk about status neutrality, in the sense that everyone has an HIV status, and in order to stay negative, you can engage in PrEP. If you're positive, you engage in treatment, you get undetectable, that we already know that it's untransmittable. But also it highlights the importance of, in order to engage into that care, you have to know your status. And as you were saying, sometimes it's hard to maybe have these conversations with providers. It might be uncomfortable. It might be the provider that you know from since you were a kid, and it's like it's
Mhm.
hard. It's uncomfortable sometimes. We also know that there's bias from certain medical providers. So again, getting a test at home is a great tool for you to break those barriers and get tested. And again, it is an easy request that you can fill using the links. It also applies to Puerto Rico, where I am located. So please use that option. And along those lines, Dash, can you speak more about the barriers that you have found in your community for people to getting tested, and what your organization is doing to work around that?
Okay. Well, one of the key barriers is a lot of Black men of color who are not same gender loving tend to think that this is just something that truly only affects gay men. I've had everything from men to tell me, "Well, my girl's good, so I know I'm good," and I'm like, "No, that don't work like that. You have to get tested." So the barrier is just explaining that this is not a gay man's disease. And I'm often upset recently when monkeypox came out. Gay men are being affected by monkeypox, when in fact anyone could have caught monkeypox, and a lot of women did catch monkeypox. And that's actually what ramped me up to change the format of what my organization was doing post monkeypox, having a discussion with my volunteers surrounding monkeypox. And one said, "Hey, I hope you get vaccinated because I wouldn't want you to get that." And I said, "No, I not just me, we." And I began to write a program for women's wellness and men's health, and begin to engage in discussions with peers and volunteers and guests that will come to Power about getting tested for HIV and the importance of knowing your status. So what we do is take non-traditional approaches at Power Atlanta. When we do testing events, some of these events may be we offer free haircuts. And we'll still cut your hair for free, but when we're doing these cuts and conversations, what we tend to do is engage and ask questions and hold topics surrounding HIV, surrounding STDs, because these are uncomfortable discussions, especially in the Black community. So when having these discussions and engaging them through cuts and conversations, every week my organization gives 165 pounds of food away minimum to anyone. We ask for no ID, we ask for no verification, no proof. So when you come to our organization, we have a testing station set up at our organization, as well as we have condoms that we put inside of the boxes with the food. And surprisingly, people come back and say, hey, I need some more of those condoms. And guess what? It's not people exactly my age. It's people in their 40s and 50s who are asking for condoms. Some of those people who are in their 40s and 50s never been tested. They don't know the importance of it. So those are some of the barriers I face, and those are some of the non-traditional ways that I tackle those issues here in Atlanta.
And I think you've highlighted two things that I believe are super important. One is, being able to recognize the stigma plays a role, a main role into people getting tested, again, because it is related or linked or assumed to be linked to a certain population, in this case, gay men, while it can affect everyone. And I think the other thing that I find amazing about the work that you and your organization are doing is that you're thinking about other ways where you can also support the community, and also a way for get people encouraged to get tested.
Well, to add to what you just said, there's no I think the reason, especially in where I live at here in Atlanta, why the rates are so high is so many people take a traditional approach when with treatment, and they don't look at the psychosocial needs. So what do I mean by that? The same thing that been doing since the 80s. It may be somewhat effective, but we have to come at this a different way, practice harm reduction strategies when interacting and engaging with communities. So what my main focus at Power Atlanta was to build trust. I always wanted to build trust within the community, because the underlying in the Black community is we have a lot of medical distrust, and science has consistently given us medical mistrust. So now you want me to take this test? What are you doing with my DNA? So that they didn't hear the part that I'm pricking you to see if you're positive. They want to know what the aftermath of what I'm going to do with the test. So I have to build trust with you to test you. So I started off with giving out candy and cookies in my parking lot, and we went from candies and cookies to hot dogs and chips. Now, like I said, I'm feeding three to 400 people a week, 65 pounds of food.
And I
And
think that
it works.
Yeah, and I think that highlights also the importance of having people from the community do
Yeah.
this work, so that people feel represented, so that people feel and understand that they're talking to peers. And that's how you build trust. Like, you are on the same channel, you understand what I'm coming from, right?
Yes.
And Rik, I wanted to, on that same line, can you discuss some of the barriers that people who are 50 plus face for getting tested?
I think oftentimes, at least, it doesn't affect you until it does, you know, um, kind of like ignoring it, ignoring the issue, ignoring, that it doesn't necessarily make it's going to go away until it does affect you. So, I think that sometimes there are other factors in play that are going on within sexual activity within a community that may be contributing to unhealthy sexual practices, and perhaps sometimes you said it. You alluded to it a little bit earlier, that the marketing campaigns, the media campaigns, are kind of targeting those younger folks, and as I am a man of age, and I work with a lot of people of age, you know what? Older people still have sex, believe it or not. And we need to, be vigilant and aware of, our own health and our own status.
Yeah, exactly. And make an effort to be able to reach everyone that is sexually active, and also be able to take the opportunity of we're talking about HIV, but also take the opportunity to talk about STI testing, for example, and talk about doxypep, and talk about how people can have sexual health in like holistic sexual health in overall, right?
Hmm.
And I also think that or one of the things that I wanted to ask you is how can the people that are watching this live event, how would you let people know that they can get involved in supporting others to or people in their communities to get tested?
Well, if you're here in Atlanta, Georgia, I would love to have you come over and be a volunteer with Power Atlanta. And we would definitely help you go through all the proper channels to become certified to test individuals and take those approach. But if you're not in Atlanta, you should contact the local organization or your local health department, or go to hiv.gov and find an organization who does testing and reach out to them and let them know that you would like to become a volunteer. In this arena, there's no shortage of volunteers. Every hand counts.
And I also see that you have your email on screen, so people can also send you messages if they needed some additional information.
Correct.
Perfect. And Rik, I know that you're also planning a testing event. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Uh, uh, I'm sorry. We are planning a testing event.
I think you were planning a testing event.
I think that
This
was me.
okay. I'm
Okay.
sorry, I got confused.
I mean, we do. Rainbow Health does do testing. We have our in-house testing that we work with Q Care Plus and Avita Pharmacy to provide medications like PrEP medications and that type of thing. But we also do internal HIV testing, as well as getting people linked up to the HIV testing kits and PrEP services and such.
Awesome. Again, thank you all so much. This was a quick Instagram live to get people to learn more about HIV testing, the importance of getting tested, and also where you can either get tested in person, or if you're not able to go to a place like a physical space, go to the links that are on the chat so you can get your test at home. Again, thank you, Dash, and thank you, Rik, for your time, for sharing your wisdom, for sharing your resources. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dama.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.